Hello everyone, this is part 11 of What If Naruto Had the Power to Control Vectors, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist. To see more, comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Only 3 Jinchuriki and 1 tailed beast was left. Things were not looking good. Orochimaru was also dead by the hands of the Akatsuki. Kabuto, the only survivor, proved to be no help at all. Going through his brain had only revealed that Hanabi, Mito and Hitomi were part of the attack, and other information that would have been valuable if the snake was still alive, but the worst part was the memories Kabuto had of Naruto's childhood. Minato, despite knowing he would regret it, asked Inoki to show him those memories, so they watched as Naruto devolved his powers at the hands of Orochimaru, sat in a cage, killing people for the sake of progress, sat in a cage, devolve his ideals, but more than anything sat in a cage. It hurt Minato to watch, and it was even worse knowing that Kabuto had spent a lot of his time spying on the Leaf. Someone who could have led him to Naruto had been so close all this time. While Minato was suffering, watching his son Inoki seemed to be enjoying himself. After all, this was the monster that killed his daughter, and that's what scared Minato the most. Was it too late for Naruto? Did the village already hate him enough that he would never be able to return? The logical part of his brain told Minato that it was, but he just couldn't believe that. And even with all these memories of Naruto, there was nothing that gave them any sort of weakness. Everything that was in these memories was stuff they already knew, although Orochimaru apparently had a notebook about Naruto that Kabuto strongly expected had a weakness written inside it. But that notebook had gone to the grave along with Orochimaru, exactly how Naruto wanted it. It wasn't all bad news, because Naruto had succeeded in making an elemental Rasengan. She was using 3 shadow clones to do each of the steps separately, and while Minato applauded her for her genius, it wasn't practical for anyone else to use. Minato simply did not have enough chakra for it, and Minima, while having some of the Kyuubi's chakra, could theoretically do it. It would still take a huge amount of her overall chakra, far too much, to justify using it on one move. Naruto improvement was amazing and certainty boosted her combat strength, but Minato was still so afraid that the Akatsuki would swoop in and take her. Minato had been confident that he could protect his daughter, but Naruto had crushed Taki alone. He had crushed them so bad, in fact, that Taki had pretty much pulled out of the alliance. Could Minato really protect Naruto from an organization with that kind of power? Minato slapped himself at the thought. Of course he would. He wasn't alone. He had Kushina Jiraiya, Itachi, his daughters, and loads of other strong ninja. Taki was a minor village, so they probably weren't prepared to fight an S-class ninja like Naruto. Besides, Naruto was Minato's blood, so of course he'd be insanely strong. There was nothing to worry about. With these thoughts in his head, Minato went back to work, confident once again that everything would turn out all right. If only the rest of the village could be as optimistic as he was. Hitomi walked alongside Kisame after she and the rest of the girls had been separated. Hitomi I had healed a day ago, and she was finally able to take off the bandages. Hitomi didn't think she'd ever forget how painful that was. Kisame didn't talk much, but from Hitomi's observation of him thus far, she was confident that he was one of the higher level Akatsuki members, even when the Akatsuki had a full set of S-classes. If Hitomi was to guess, she would place Kisame as the 3rd strongest in the group, with Pain and Naruto above him. Although Hitomi wasn't sure who was above whom with Pain and Naruto. Hitomi didn't know anything about Pain's abilities, but he was the leader, which must mean he had undeniable power, but Hitomi just found it hard to believe Pain would be able to get past Naruto's reflection, although Itachi, and Lee to a lesser extent, had proven that it was not impossible. Normally it wouldn't matter who was strongest since they were on the same side, but Hitomi bet that whatever Naruto was planning wasn't just going to fly by Pain. Hitomi just hoped that Naruto knew what he was doing. Mito was sitting on one of Deidara's clay birds while Deidara was on another one. "Where are we going?" Mito asked. "Tiriwa, Sasori died before he could capture the 5 tails, so now it's up to his partner and his replacement to do it," Deidara said. "Thinking about blowing up your home village," Mito said. "I'm not blowing it up," Deidara yelled defensively. "I'm making art. Just don't be making art out of our target." Mito replied. Mito didn't know what to make of Deidara. While she respected his skill as a ninja, he just seemed too unstable even with the Akatsuki's standards, although perhaps not on the level of hidden. Mito didn't even think Deidara and her were a good pair. Sure, they had worked together once before, but that had ended in Deidara losing his second arm. Their powers were also complete opposites. Deidara was a long-range bomber while Mito was a close-range brawler with 1 or 2 long-ranged attacks. Mito was seriously wondering if they'd be able to capture the 5 tails, but then again, this was Deidara's home village and he can cause quite a distraction. Mito smiled as she thought up a plan. She would be the one to take down the 5 tails, not Deidara like everyone expected. She would prove that she was just as good as any other Akatsuki and make up for her uselessness during Orochimaru's assassination. Hanabi was practically skipping to where Naruto was supposed to meet her. She knew that now that she was part of the Akatsuki she would have to play the part, which basically meant walking around with a scowl everywhere she went, but she was just too excited to see Naruto. She hadn't seen him in forever and now she was on the same level as him. Well, Hanabi didn't actually think that. She knew she was nowhere close to Naruto, but at least now she could help him as a fellow Akatsuki member. Plus she was all alone with him, which made her even happier. Hanabi was so happy that she didn't even notice Naruto when he was in her sight. "What are you doing?" Naruto asked with a very confused look. Hanabi stopped so fast that she tore up some grass. She had a horrible blush on her face that she tried desperately to cover up, but all she could think of was how Naruto had seen her skipping. That is something no serious ninja do, or any ninja for that matter. Hanabi couldn't come up with anything to say as she stood there where he hands clamped together her front of her and looking to the side. She was feeling herself melt from embarrassment from the gaze she couldn't. This is not how she wanted to meet Naruto after all this time. It made her feel like nothing had changed from that fateful day in the Land of Frost. Naruto waited a little bit for an answer to explain what he just saw, but seeing Hanabi's reaction gave him all the answer he needed. He had almost forgotten that Hanabi had a huge crush on him. "Fine, whatever, I don't really care," Naruto said without any emotion, but on the inside was laughing very hard. Hanabi felt relief wash over her as Naruto didn't press any farther. She waited for her blush to die down before turning back to face Naruto, but when she did her blush came back darker than it was before. "Why aren't you wearing a shirt?" Hanabi screamed. Naruto had his Akatsuki cloak on the ground beside him, and apparently Naruto had stopped wearing a shirt underneath it as Hanabi could see the pale white skin of his chest and blushed madly, even if to most people Naruto looked like an anorexic vampire, which would give very little sexual appeal. Naruto's sweat dropped as he hadn't been wearing his Akatsuki cloak since Hanabi had arrived. She must have been too caught up in her skipping to have realized, Naruto thought. He had taken it off because he felt like his arm had healed enough to where he didn't have to bandage it up, and he had taken his cloak off to take him off. This was something Naruto was going to explain to the blushing girl, but the moment he lifted his unbandaged arm Hanabi freaked. In Hanabi's world she saw Naruto's arm and about had a heart attack. There were large patches of fresh pink skin surrounded by a red outline that stood out against Naruto's pale skin. Hanabi had heard that Naruto had been injured by Itachi, but she didn't think he had been hurt this bad. Hanabi had seen this after the fact, so it wasn't that bad, but she knew you didn't get scares like that unless you were seriously burned. Hanabi immediately rushed over to get a better look at Naruto's arm. "What are you doing?" Naruto asked, a little uncomfortable with the sad look Hanabi was giving as she stared at his arm. "You didn't get this treated, did you?" Hanabi asked, looking up at Naruto's face, giving him a very angry look. Now a normal man would have died on the spot with a look like that, but Naruto was the strongest ninja in the world, or so he told himself, so he was not going to be intimidated by a girl 3 years his junior. "No, I didn't. Why should I have? It healed fine on its own and my ability kept me from bleeding out," Naruto said. "But what if it had gotten infected, or what if the pain had made you make a mistake in battle? This isn't just some minor wound, your whole arm was burnt to a crisp." Hanabi yelled with worry and anger. "It can't get infected because my reflection keeps all germs away, and I even banged it up just in case," Naruto said, feeling rather let down that Hanabi thought he could die from something as minor as that. "Still, let me heal it and bandage it." Hanabi said, already preparing to use the small amount of medical jutsu she knew to help Naruto. It's already healed enough and I don't need it bandaged. Naruto said. What is with you guys and having so much of an ego that you can't accept help when it's offered to you? Hanabi said, very irritated. Yes, I know that it's mostly healed, but there's still some damage here. I know that doesn't mean much to the accelerator, the world's strongest ninja. Hanabi said sarcastically. But it's not going to do any more damage, and besides with my help those scares could go away faster. Hanabi said, now getting a little desperate for Naruto to accept her help. Naruto looked at the girl who only wanted to help. Didn't she realize that he was fine? That he would have to take down his reflection for her to help, and that would put him in more danger than just letting the wound heal on its own. Logic would tell Naruto to ignore Hanabi, but the sad look she was giving him made him feel a little guilty. Fine, what were the odds that they would get attacked here? Plus, as much as Naruto didn't to admit it, he did have soft spot for Hanabi. Go ahead, Naruto said, holding out his arm and disabled his reflection. Hanabi looked so happy while she was healing Naruto that the pale boy actually gave a little bit of a smile, and it was all done within 20 minutes including new bandages. So what's the plan? Hanabi asked Naruto, looking pretty pleased with the work she had done. We don't have a plan. Naruto said. What? Hanabi said, her jaw dropping slightly. Hidden and I both captured our targets. Which mean it's the other group's job to capture the rest, so we don't have any work to do. Naruto said, falling down to the grass in a carefree manner. But we have to be doing something. Hanabi said, scared that she wouldn't be able to show Naruto anything she had learned since they parted. Nope, we're done. Naruto said, looking at the sunset. Anyways, I'm going to bed. But we could at least do bounty hunting work. Hanabi said, but although Naruto wasn't asleep yet, he did give her a response. Hanabi, severely disappointed with the outcome of these events, made her bed as close to Naruto as she dared. When the moon was high in the sky, Hanabi stirred awake from a dream she could no longer recall. She planned to fall back asleep, but she noticed something strange. Naruto wasn't asleep, instead he was sitting cross-legged with a cup of water in his hand. Now there was nothing strange about this. Naruto's could have simply gotten up to get a drink, except he wasn't drinking it. He was tapping his finger in the water at different intervals. Hanabi realized that he must be contacting Sugetsu. Hanabi wasn't exactly sure how it worked, but somehow Sugetsu was able to get information from water. Naruto must be sending Sugetsu a message. All the members of the Akatsuki suspected Naruto was up to something, but this was solid proof that Naruto was using Sugetsu for something, but what could that something be? Hanabi was greatly disappointed that Naruto didn't trust her enough to let her in on his plan. Didn't he know that she was loyal to him and not the Akatsuki? It hurt Hanabi, but there was nothing she could do about it. Hopefully Naruto would tell her in time. That night, while Naruto was putting together his plan, while Itachi was finally retuning to the village after healed enough to make the trip back, while Minato was just getting home to his wife who had been waiting for him, while Naruto was wide awake in her bed thinking about the power she now possessed, while Pain was looking over his village with Conan next to him, while Toby was making his final preparations for the end game, a huge chakra pressure emerged and alerted every sensor near and far away. It was so large and so sudden it would be better to call it a chakra explosion. There were only 9 things that could give off that sort of pressure, and there was only one that was unaccounted for. That night the Three Tails made itself known. The Hokage's office was filled to the brim with ninja early the next day. As most of you have probably heard, the Three Tails location has been discovered. Minato said. Inside the office was Kakashi's team, Guy's team, Kushina and Jiraiya. So we have to seal it before the Akatsuki can. Kushina said. But why did you call all of us in? Surely the other villages will be sending their own ninja. Neji said, looking around at all the familiar faces. It would be better then send an Anbu teams for this sort of thing. About that, the Leaf wasn't invited to help, so Anbu teams would be a quick way to send the wrong message. Minato said. Why are we going? Sasuke asked, irritated that he had been called for a mission as soon as his brother got home. Because even if we aren't supposed to come, it can't hurt to have a few extra people to help, and more importantly, by sending regular ninja it will ease the other members of the alliance into letting you help. Minato said. Some of the smarter people in the room could tell what the true purpose of this mission was. Minato was trying to mend his relationship with the rest of the alliance by sending his, not so regular, ninja to help out, in other words, his best ninja. Minato just wanted the alliance to recognize the ninja he was sending. It had nothing to do with what kind of message Anbu teams would send. If Itachi wasn't too injured to go on this type of mission, he'd probably be here too. However, this was double-edged sword. If they captured the Three Tails successful, then it would help Minato regain favor, but if they failed, the alliance could blame it all on Minato and that would break the relationship beyond repair. I see, but I have one more question. Kakashi said. In a mission that's objective is to stop the Akatsuki from capturing another tailed beast, is it really such a good idea to send a Jinchuriki on this mission? What's that supposed to mean? Naruto yelled. Quiet, Naruto. Minato said, getting the attention of everyone in the room. I can see what you mean, but Naruto hasn't been able to go on missions recently because of that very fact. If I keep her in the village, she won't get the experience she needs to defend herself against these high-level opponents. Besides, it's not like I'm sending her to fight a tailed beast alone. You're all going with her, and honestly, with all of you on this mission, it might be safer to send her with you than leave her in the village. Also, if things get really bad, I'll make sure Minato gets his ass out there in a second thanks to the seal on my back. Kushina said. I see, then I guess there's nothing left to do, but head out. Lee said. By the time they got there, the battle was already long underway. There were Iwa and Kumo forces running around a big lake with what looked like a giant gray turtle. Although the Three Tails was way more dangerous than any turtle could hope to be. A giant wave of water smashed onto the shoreline, breaking trees and carrying them away. There were a few bodies in the water that moved with the waves that the Three Tails was creating. What the hell are Leaf Ninja doing here? Said a female voice as she jumped down from one of the few remaining trees. She was wearing the Iwa uniform, and had black hair with pupilless eyes. She was Kuretsuki, the Tsuchikage's granddaughter. We're here to help, Kushina said. We don't need it, Kuretsuki said, but then an explosion rang out along with the death screams of a few ninja. Doesn't look like it, Kushina said, giving the girl a cocky smirk. Kuretsuki clicked her tough in annoyance, obviously not happy with another village interfering with the mission, but she couldn't deny that any ninja they could get would help. Fine, just know that you're not in charge here, she said as she led them to the main battle. They reached a small hill by the river that had a bunch of ninja focusing firing on the Three Tails. Black Panther. One of the Kumo ninja yelled as black lightning struck the water and electrocuted the whole lake, and surprisingly the Three Tails was actually affected by it. That must be some power lightning jutsu, Minima said, admiring the man's jutsu. Hey Darui, guess who decided to show up? Kuretsuki said as she ran up behind him. Darui took a brief look behind him, but didn't have time to take his eye off the Three Tails as it was already recovering. Hey, didn't you see? They're damn Leaf Ninja. I don't care if they're part of the Akatsuki. If they're here to help them, let them. We're going to be charging the lake soon to attempt a capture. Hopefully you Leaf Ninja aren't scared of getting a little wet, Darui said. Of course not, Sasuke said, activating his Sharingan. Every ninja there got out on the lake and started heading for the Three Tails. The Three Tails wasn't going to let them run straight at him, however. A rain of huge water bullets were shot at the approaching force. Iwa Ninja brought up rock walls all the way from the bottom of the lake to block them. The Three Tails reacted by upping his power. Shit, he's about to use his tailed beast ball, Jiraiya said. Everyone get as close as you can. That's no point in trying to block something like that, but it might think twice about firing it too close to itself, Kuretsuki ordered. Everyone ran as fast as they could towards the tailed beast, hoping to avoid the blast. Kuretsuki seemed to be right in her prediction because the Three Tails shot the ball a ways behind them, but even if it wasn't a direct hit, didn't mean they were safe. The shockwave caused more than a few ninja to faceplant in the water. This was much more dangerous than it normally would have been because the water in the lake had become incredibly unstable due to the attack. Some ninja were pushed under the water and wouldn't be seen again until their bodies washed up on the shore, but the group didn't have time to worry about the water below. They were now close enough to the Three Tails where they could be easily hit by one of the swinging tails. I've got this, Kushina yelled as she used her chains to wrap around one of the tails and stop it from swinging. The Three Tails wasn't going to have any of it as he swung one of his other tails towards Kushina. I don't think so, Minima said as she used her own chains to stop the tail. This made the three tails pissed as he stranded, shaking back and forth and swung his last tail around wildly, trying to hit the red heads. I can't let the leaf girls have all the fun. Kuretsuki as she shot a white substance from her mouth at the last tail. When the three tails dipped his tail back in the water from swinging it around, the substance hardened, making the tail much heavier. Although the three tails was having trouble moving its last tail, it wasn't immobile, so the time to strike was now. Tenten shot hundreds of explosive tags. Lee and Guy opened one of the gates and started wailing on the beast. Sasuke, Kakashi and Darui used their lightning jutsus all at once to make an extremely power lighting beam, and all the other ninjas started firing their own jutsus. Not even a tailed beast could take that many jutsus without being affected. The three tails seemed to howl in pain as the jutsus just kept coming, but the worst was yet to come as Naruto charged up her Raisin Shuriken. Naruto was going to hit the three tails with her best attack, and hopefully it would do enough damage to capture it. The three tails must have realized that if it was hit by Naruto's attack, it would do a lot more than just cause some pain. It curled itself into its tails, making himself a sort of ball. Then it started spinning at speeds that were impossible for Minima and Kushina to hold onto their chain. They had to cancel them unless they wanted to be sent flying. The spinning was so fast that the substance Kuretsuki had shoot onto the last tail just peeled off, and with that the three tails raced around the lake within seconds and came right back at them. It was so fast most ninja didn't even have time to think. The ones who could cut off the chakra to their feet and fell into the lake. Tenten, get down! Neji yelled, since Tenten was one of those ninjas that forgot how to think. Neji raced after her and pushed her into the water just as the three tails passed overhead. However, in saving Tenten, Neji had not been able to get down far enough and got his back chopped up like a raw steak by the three tails spikes. The water turned red from not only the blood coming from Neji's back, but also the handful of ninjas that had stayed above water. Meanwhile, the three tails kept making passes above them, making it impossible to surface, but they couldn't stay in the water, they'd drown. A sudden burst of smoke turned the group's attention elsewhere. The group was amazed to see a giant toad underwater with them. Jiraiya had summoned the Toad Boss. Without saying a word, the Toad Boss took out his sword and jumped through the water with Jiraiya on top. It was like they had a telepathic connection, because he was not surprised at all by the giant spiked shell spinning at him. The three tails hit the Toad Boss sword and sparks flew everywhere. Slowly but surely the three tails started losing speed and grinded to a halt. The three tail uncurled itself only for the Toad Boss to plunge his sword through the middle tail. A new barrage of attacks ensured as the ninja started to get back onto the water. The three tails was clearly in a lot of pain and victory seemed at hand, but things never came that easy. Whether the three tails was desperate or simplify panic didn't matter. All that mattered was that the three tails created another tailed beast bomb. He shoot it so close to him that it was more like the three tails dropped it. Everything was blowback. The toad, the people, the water, itself, everything. The first thing Naruto realized after the tailed beast ball went off was she couldn't breathe. Naruto, who was lying face down in the water, quickly pulled her head out. The next thing she realized was how much her body hurt. There was blood dripping into the water, giving Naruto's reflection a reddish tint. Naruto supposed she should be happy. After all, it was only due to the fact that the three tails hadn't charged up its tailed beast ball that much that Naruto was alive. Naruto got to her feet and looked at the surrounding area. She must have not been out that long, as the water of the lake was still trying to settle itself down. The three tails could be seen slightly under the lake. It didn't look to be moving. What do you know, it took itself out, a voice said from behind. Naruto turned to see Kakashi a little bloody, but since he was giving his signature eye smile, Naruto didn't think he was too bad off. Come on, let's go find everyone else. It didn't take long for everyone who was still alive to regroup. Surprisingly, there were very few casualties in the explosion, although Neji had apparently not been able to survive since he had already lost too much blood from saving Tenten. Naruto knew Tenten would blame herself later, but right now they had to capture the three tails before it was able to get up again. They started heading towards the three tails just as the lake's water calmed. That was easier than I thought, Sasuke said, already forgetting that one of their friends had died. It was only easy because you got here late. We've been spending hours weakening it, Kuretsuki said bitterly. This is now time for celebration. The three tails could get up at any time we need to move. Kushina said. The three tails wasn't too far away from the shore, but right when every ninja got onto the lake the previously calm water started to move again. It wasn't even close to what the three tails had been able to do, but it was noticeable. That's not us, is it? Minima asked. No, but watch yourselves, we don't know what's going on. Darui said as he looked around the whole lake to see what the cause could be. Everyone saw it at the same time. Across the lake were two figures wearing Akatsuki robes. One was obviously male with a slightly shorter female beside him. There was whispering all throughout the group. Everyone calm down, we knew the Akatsuki could show up, so we'll just show them what happens when you come late to the party. Darui said. His words might have been spoken with the courage expected from a leader, but it didn't do much to calm the group's nerves. As the figures came closer, the water became more and more restless. The group was silent. The only noise was the slight splashing of water as the Akatsuki members walked towards them. They could start to see their features, and that was enough to make the Leaf Ninjas' voices get caught in their throats. Pale skin, hair that looked like it had been bleached, red eyes. There was no doubt about. He seemed to be grumbling about something. The group of ninjas was able to catch the last of it as he came to a stop. Stupid Zetsu, making me come all the what out here even after I've captured my Jinchuriki. The disaster, said. Sugetsu was walking along a dirt road with a map in his hand. Well, Naruto, you sure are an interesting guy. Who knew when I joined your little group things would turn out like? Sugetsu said, talking to himself out of boredom. You didn't seem like the type of guy who would plan something like this when I first met you, but man, when you get to work, you get to work. It's just a shame you left us with the cleanup work, although it's still going to be more fun than anything the Akatsuki had me do. Speaking of us, I'm almost at the rendezvous point. Sugetsu said, checking his map again. I really have to hand it to you, Naruto, you pulled the wool over everyone's eyes. Who could have known that she was still alive? I'll have to ask her how you did it. The group whose job it was to capture the three-tail knew that the possibility of running into an Akatsuki team was high. Even so, everyone who was brought onto the mission figured that the three tails was the main threat, and even if an Akatsuki team did show up, they would have to fight the three tails too. Yet Naruto had employed a strategy so simple a civilian could have come up with it: come in after the beast is defeated. Such an easy thing to predict, yet no one was prepared. Exhausted and beat, they had not thought about conserving their strength while fighting the three tails. But while they were trying to find the strength to deal with Hanabi and Naruto was standing on the water, making waves due to the unusual way he stood on it, looking rested and relaxed. It seemed he could care less if a fight did occur. Naruto! Kushina screamed and stepped to the front of the crowd. She had been the only one to find her voice, but when she saw Naruto she lost it again. This would be her first time seeing Naruto since the Chunin exams, and back then she didn't know he was Naruto. She saw the boy she gave birth to standing there, having grown up without his family. It was so strange to see the son she had dreamed so much about after she had lost him standing there. He truly didn't look like he was part of their family. Once bright blue eyes had changed into indifferent red eyes so long ago. Skin so pale that it would make you question if he had ever seen the sun, and his hair. Okami, that was what made it impossible to relate him to the Namika's family. The ominous feeling it gave because of the way it remained perfectly still even though everyone else's hair was moving with the wind. The hair, that's beautiful color, had been zapped out, leaving a dusty blonde in its place. This is what her son, who could have been Minato's twin in another world, had turned into. Are you just going to look at me, or are you going to say something? Naruto said with so little care in his voice that it almost sounding like a threat, even though all he did was ask a question. Why are you here? Kushina said. Naruto gave her a puzzled look before speaking. Come on, you're the wife of the Hokage, surely you can figure it out, but just in case I'll give you a little hint. Naruto pointed to his Akatsuki cloak and then to the still body of the three tails. Damn, he was mocking her. Kushina knew it was a stupid question, but nothing else would come out. How do you talk to the son you've never really known, who then becomes one of the members of a group that you're fighting? Why won't you come back to the leaf? Kushina asked, trying her best to get through to the boy. Back, Naruto said questionably. I don't know what reality you've been living in, But I've only gone to the Leaf once, and that was only for the Chunin exams, so why would I go back? Because it's your home, Kushina yelled. Just because I was born in the Leaf doesn't make it my home. I've never thought of that place as my home, Naruto said. That's a lie. You came to the Leaf once before the Chunin exams because you believed it was your home. You came after escaping from Orochimaru, and you didn't go to the closest ninja village. You went to the Leaf because you knew your family was there. So don't give me that crap. Kushina yelled, anger and sadness in each word like a river that would burn you if you got too close. But Naruto had his reflection to protect him from the heat. Oh yes, I guess he did once go to the Leaf, but he was turned away. What do you mean? That was you. Kushina said, having been hit really hard by that mental blow, so much so that tears were starting to run down her face. No, that was the fake Naruto. A person who died when Accelerator was born. People may call me Naruto since that was the name I was giving, but in truth that name is an alias for Accelerator, not the other way around. Accelerator said. His words shook every Leaf ninja there, even Hanabi. Who the hell was this guy? Naruto, the son of the Hokage, Accelerator, Orochimaru's prized creation, an Akatsuki member, but none of those were quite right. It was obvious that Naruto had no real loyalty to the Akatsuki, yet he would do anything they told him to do. Why do you hate us? Kushina asked, the emotional stress finally getting to her. I think that has been some misunderstanding somewhere along the line. Naruto said. I don't hate you or the Leaf. In fact, I don't really hate anyone. The simple fact is I chose a side and so did you, and it just so happens those two sides' goals are against each other. There should be no hard feeling when it comes to this stuff. If I get attacked by the Leaf, then they shouldn't complain when some of their ninja come back in body bags. I don't have any enemies, there are simply people who need to be taken care of to achieve my goal. Just like how the Akatsuki is fighting the Alliance to achieve its goals and how the Alliance is fighting the Akatsuki to achieve its goals. And what is your goal? Jiraiya asked, being the first to get in the way of Kushina and Naruto's talk. Naruto smiled. I'm the strongest ninja to ever live. Naruto said like it was a fact in a history book. But there are people you don't believe that, so what do? They try to find weaknesses, they try to fight me to prove that I'm not the strongest. I want to make sure everyone believes that I'm unbeatable. So in other words, I guess I want to become a god, and in becoming a god I can decide what goes on in the world. If I want to destroy a major village, then I will. If I want to save a single child from an army of millions, then I will. If I want to sit back and do absolutely nothing while the world moves on, like most gods tend to do, then I will. That will never happen. Naruto screamed at the absolutely insane idea. Oh really? Well, I've got news for you. The gears have already started turning. The pieces are almost in place. It's only a matter of time. The would-be god said. That was it. Everyone there knew exactly what the thing in front of them was with those words. He was a person who had been born with power, being the son of the Hokage, had power thrust upon him, Orochimaru's vector control, and had achieved power, joining the Akatsuki and creating a group of loyal followers. Yet even having all that did not satisfy the person, because there would always be stubborn fools that would not accept his power. Those who despite the odds would keep fighting, would train, would believe that they could win. They were the people who throughout history had beaten the odds. Who had beaten the previously unbeatable. Was there any way to stop those kinds of people? The person standing in front of them had found an answer. Not only did he have an answer, he had a plan. A plan that sounded impossible, yet the way he was speccing, no one doubted that if it went on without interference it would come true. Suddenly the entire group realized something: the Akatsuki wasn't nearly as dangerous as the person in front of them. In fact, it seemed the person in front of them was using the Akatsuki for his plan. But how could that be? He had never given a single order to the rest of the Akatsuki. He had always done what he was told, so why did it feel like he was the one in control? No one was unaffected by Naruto's declaration, even Hanabi couldn't believe it. Was Naruto really shooting to become a god? Hanabi knew that people attacked Naruto to prove themselves, but for Naruto to take it this far just to make them stop. Did it really make him that mad? Hey, egotist bastard! Akatsuki yelled, stepping to the front of the group. Naruto didn't react to the insult. He simply turned to the new fly buzzing in his ear. So you want to become a god and you have a plan to do it? That's fine and all, but if we kill you right here right now, then you'll never have a chance to become God. Kurotsuki said, charging forward, already getting ready to shoot that substance at Naruto. Hanabi looked ready to defend Naruto, but he put his arm out in front of her and she stopped. You seem to have missed a very important part of the conversation. Naruto said, like a teacher talking to a kid who had misunderstood his lesson. I'm already the best. The only reason I want to become a god is to stop people who will throw their life away just to prove something to me. People like you. Naruto tapped the water with foot, and a wave, not as big as the ones the Three Tails had made but so much faster, was sent Kurotsuki way. Not even a second later the wave engulfed Kurotsuki body. There was a terrible crunching as the wave broke over the girl. A couple Iwa ninja went to her rescue and pulled out her mangled body. Her arm was in an L shape, her ribs looked to be absolute destroyed and both her legs and been crushed, but she was still breathing. You see, I can be merciful, Naruto said, acting like what he did had been the best outcome for Kurotsuki. Honestly, I have no reason to fight you, all I want is the Three Tail. It seems like a good deal since none of you will die. Shove your deal up your ass, Kurotsuki said with the last bit of energy she had before the pain was too much for her and she went under. Hanabi looked like she wanted to kill Kurotsuki, but once again Naruto stopped her. I'll ignore that since she is angry and does not speak for the whole group. I really do think I'm being nice here, since I could just kill you all and not only take the Three Tails but also the Nine Tails. All eyes turned to Naruto with a look of pity. Naruto didn't want that. It was like she was holding him back. Even Minama and Kushina looked at her like she was holding him back. Naruto couldn't accept this. Naruto was using her to get the group to give up, but that couldn't happen because if it did, it would only prove that Naruto needed to be kept in the village at all times. I'm not some bargaining chip, Naruto screamed. So what if he's threatening to take me? What difference does it make? Even if we leave right now, the Akatsuki will just come after me some other time, and they'll defiantly get the Three Tails. But if we fight, then we have a chance to not only keep the Three Tails, but take down 2 Akatsuki members. No one answered her. They just looked at her, but it was no longer with pity. It was with determination. People tightened the grip on their weapons, and turned back to Naruto. Sure, they were scared, but it didn't matter because if they gave up here, then nothing will have changed. The Akatsuki would still keep attacking until they had what they wanted, but if Naruto was defeated, then the Akatsuki's combat strength would be cut tremendously. Kurotsuki was right. Naruto wasn't a god, he was just another member of the Akatsuki, and Akatsuki members had been beaten before. Naruto knew the moment Naruto gave her speech that they weren't going to run away. It was sad, really, they still believed they could beat him. This is why Naruto was going to become a god, because once he did, not even the most motivating speeches could convince people that they could beat him. You had your chance, Naruto said, making cyclones of wind and water. The Iwa ninja erected a stone wall to protect it against the attack, but the defense was completely blown away by Naruto's cyclones. The ninja abandoned the wall and ran to all sides of Naruto. One Kumo ninja started doing signs for a lighting jutsu, but a long piece of metal suddenly priced his heart. Don't forget I'm here too, Hanabi said, retracting the Nuibari and not very happy that the group seemed to have forgotten about her. She was here to prove that she was useful to Naruto. She would show them that they had just as much to fear from her as they did from Naruto. Hanabi did some hand signs and created a water cyclone very similar to one Naruto owned. Hanabi's, however, had a distinctive difference from Naruto's. While Naruto's were much more powerful than Hanabi's, he could only control them up to a certain range. Once he launched them, they would continue on their path until they hit something or broke apart due to not being held together by Naruto's vectors. Hanabi could control hers freely, and that just what she did. She sent her water cyclone towards a random Kumo ninja. He dodged, having thought that it was one of the many cyclones Naruto was throwing at the group, but when the water cyclone suddenly changed directions, he was unprepared and took the full force of the hit, which was deadly. Hanabi killed a couple of people before she got noticed and had to fight for real. Her opponent was girl Hanabi thought she remembered seeing when Nere got his genin team. Was it Tenten? Hanabi guessed it didn't matter, but by giving her a brief examination, Hanabi was confident that she was a weapons specialist. It would make sense if she, as throwing weapons at Naruto was practically worthless and could cause damage to your own side because of Naruto's reflection. Hanabi didn't think the girl would be too difficult, but she would still follow the words Naruto had parted them with, to not underestimate your opponent. Although even Hanabi, who believed in everything Naruto did and said, knew that those words meant nothing to him. He hadn't moved since that start of the fight. He just made cyclones and sent them off to a random person he saw. Sometimes they were killed, sometimes they weren't. It didn't matter to Naruto, anything that got close to him was reflected anyway. Naruto wasn't planning on moving that entire fight until he saw a familiar green blur. He was one of them, a group of less than 5 people who had actually damaged Naruto, and that meant he was by far the biggest threat to Naruto in this battle. Naruto sent all his cyclones at the blur, but none of them made contact. Naruto noticed that the blur was moving a lot faster than the last time they had met. The blur also seemed to have a little red mixed in with all the green. The blur was too close now. Naruto didn't have time to make any more cyclones, so Naruto did something of a rarity. He punched the oncoming blur with a vector-enhanced arm. 2 fists collided on the lake. Anyone who hadn't seen it before was shocked to see that there was someone making contact with Naruto's skin, of course as it was only the knuckles of their fists. "I see you haven't forgotten how to get through my reflection," Naruto said, looking at the person across from him. His skin was red and his hair was in the shape of a bowl, but even with how stupid he looked, he had something to be proud of. Looking at the 2 boys' fists again showed that Naruto's knuckles were bleeding slightly. The boy had used Naruto's own reflection against him. By pulling his punch back at the last moment, he was able to trick Naruto's reflection into reversing the punch towards him. This was something only he could do. "It's like riding a bike," Lee said, giving a victory smile as he saw a little bit of crimson liquid drop into the lake. Both boys pulled back, so they were a little bit apart. Naruto looked at the blood coming from his hand and confirmed that Lee was indeed still dangerous, but he would not freak out like he did last time. All Lee had was the ability to get past his reflection. If that was the case, all Naruto had to do was keep him from his reflection until he was able to kill him. Naruto created 4 cyclones and flew above the lake. Naruto smiled as Lee stayed where he was, glaring at Naruto to come down. Lee could have jumped to where Naruto was, but that would take away the only advantage he had. In the air he would not have the balance to pull back his punch, not to mention that he would be destroyed by Naruto since he would still be able to move freely. Lee's only option was to wait until Naruto made a strike. Naruto looked at Lee past the tips of his knuckles. Naruto knew he could easily take out Lee by touching him and reversing his blood flow, but Naruto wanted to take out Lee with an incredibly powerful punch. Naruto felt it was only right to kill the taijutsu master that way. Naruto increased the power of the vectors in his hand while ignoring the swinging chains that were hitting his reflection. Naruto's punches now had enough power to rip through Lee's body. Of course Lee didn't know that, as he had just exchanged punches with Naruto, so Lee would probably try to take Naruto's punch head on again. This attack would wipe one person off the incredibly short list of people that had hurt Naruto. Naruto dived bomb Lee, winding up for a punch. To Lee it looked like nothing had changed with Naruto, but without Neji he had no way of knowing that Naruto had increased his power. Lee wound up for another exchange when he heard a shout. "Lee, watch out, he has a lot of chakra built up around his fist," Sasuke said, having watched Naruto transfer his chakra to allow him more power for his taijutsu. "This doesn't concern you," Naruto yelled in annoyance as he reached into his pocket with his other hand and threw some fast-flying pebbles at Sasuke. Lee had heard what Sasuke said, but having Guy as a teacher, he had completely misread what Sasuke had warned about. Lee took it as to increase his own power instead of to avoid the attack. Lee opened all his inner gates up to the 5th. His body burst with red energy as he rewound his fist. Lee and Naruto again exchanged blows, their fists meeting above the water surface, but this time it was not Naruto's knuckles that started bleeding. It was Lee's, although it would have only been noticeable for a millisecond, because right after that Lee's wrist snapped as Naruto continued to push on Lee. Then Lee's either arm collapsed in of itself as the bones broke so harshly that they priced through his skin, letting them see the light. The pain in Lee's arm was short-lived, however, as Naruto's attack was so strong that Lee no longer had an arm to feel pain in. It was ripped out of its socket and sank into the lake. Meanwhile, Naruto wasn't hurt at all, not even the blood splatter from Lee's arm reached him. All the ninja who watched this scene were horrified at the level for brutally. For someone to literally punch another guy's arm off was a little too much to handle. At least Lee wasn't in pain for long as Naruto punched the dying man right through the head before he even had a chance to fall down. Chunks of skull and brain flew through the air as Lee's body, now without the left side of his head, fell into the water, seemingly going to meet his arm. Kushina couldn't believe it, that was her son out there. Kushina didn't want to believe that he was the monster everyone said he was, but how could you deny what was right in front of you? Everyone was grounded after the display, except for Guy. Leeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeeee Guy's skin erupted in red just like Lee's had. Naruto was not even remotely afraid. Guy might look the same, but no matter how much power he put into his punch, he would not hurt Naruto. Everyone knew this, but Guy was blinded by anger, telling him to stop. His attack would be worthless, but maybe action could help. Guy, please stop. Tenten screamed as she had suddenly appeared behind Guy and grabbed onto his back. Guy's fist stopped just in front of Naruto's reflection only because he felt his back become wet. Guy turned around to see his last surviving student. Her hand had been cut so bad that she might have lost a finger or two. Blood and tears were streaming down her face into the back of Guy's suit. You can't do this, there are still people who care about you. Lee wouldn't want you to throw your life away in anger. Tenten sobbed. I'm not throwing my life away. I'm taking revenge on this monster. Guy shouted. You are throwing it away. You know the moment you hit Naruto that all that power will come right back at you, so please, you still have one student left. I know I'm not as youthful as Lee or as powerful as Neji, but I'll try my best, so please, you still have to be around to teach me. Guy seemed to calm down with each word until his red skin returned to normal and he embraced the poor girl who had lost just as much as he had. I'm sorry, Tenten, I promise I'll make you the best kunoichi who ever lived. Guy said with a soft voice. Naruto watched the scene unmoved by their heartfelt words. He looked at Hanabi, who had appeared beside him about the same time Tenten had appeared behind Guy. She had a couple cuts here and there, but she was no worse for wear. With that in his mind, Naruto turned back to the group. Why are you so mad? You seem like your friend dying has been the worst thing that has happened to you people, but yet you were the ones who choose this path. I gave you the decision to leave. I told you that you'd all be killed and yet to stayed, for what, to lose even more people protecting this overgrown turtle. Naruto's words hit everyone hard because it was true. They had let Naruto's words convince them that this battle could not only be won but won without sacrifices. How stupid had they been? Even if every last person on this lake sacrificed themselves to beat Naruto, there was little chance he would go down. But these thoughts came too little too late. They had made the decision and Naruto wasn't just going to let him off the hook. He was already approaching Guy, who was standing in front of Tenten protectively. Naruto had his arm out ready to reverse Guy's blood flow, but when he reached out, Guy was no longer there. Instead, he and Tenten had instantly appeared back with the group. Naruto was confused for an instant, but once he saw what had happened, he lowered his arm and smiled. Why, hello father, I wasn't expecting to see you here today. Did Kushina call you? She did, but that's not important. What is important is that I've wanted to see you for quite a while now, and we need to have a serious talk on what kind of son you've been. The Hokage said a few meters in front of Naruto. The time for you to act like some moral figure to me ended when you shoved a Rasengan in my stomach. Naruto said, sounding a lot more cheerful than one would have thought possible when faced with one of only 5 cages in the world. Oh, and I've already got an idea on how to pay you back. Naruto said, getting into a real fighting stance for the first time since he had arrived. Any other ninja that were on the lake at the time quickly backed off, with the exception of Hanabi, who wanted to stay by Naruto, as no one wanted to be caught up in a fight between those two. They were both monsters with unimaginable power. Fighting Naruto alone had been naive of their part, but getting in between those two was just plain suicidal. And as if the universe was making sure no one would try to be a hero, the water to the side of Naruto and Minato rose, reveling a very functional and very pissed off Three Tails. It would seem to any ninja that we're witnessing a historic battle between two of the most powerful shinobi alive, that nothing else could be happening in the world. But the world would not stop for something as little as that. In fact, there was another situation going on at that very moment that would certainly make it in the pages of history. Iwa was in panic. Clay birds were raining from the sky, blowing up anything and everything. Normally something like this would be put down swiftly, since Iwa had a force of highly skilled The only problem was that most of their highly skilled ninja were off fighting the Three Tails. With that limitation, Deidara was making Iwa a huge piece of art while flying atop his bird. Han watched Deidara from the window of his house. Han knew he was here to capture him, but right now he seemed preoccupied, so Han would wait to fight him. That was if the Tsuchikage didn't kill him first, because while Deidara was strong a cage he was not. It might seem cruel that Han wasn't doing anything to help his village to defend against that attack, but the village didn't care about Han, so why should he care about the village? He would actually rather like to see it turn into one of Deidara's pieces as long as he wasn't part of it. Then something that wasn't a bomb struck Han's house. Han jumped out the window he had been looking through. Han looked back to see his house on fire, but it didn't faze him. If something like his house being destroyed was enough to send Han into sorrow, he would have died at the hands of the villagers long ago. What he was curious about was the young girl walking out from behind the house. The fire gave a nice backdrop to her as the flames of destruction matched her hair perfectly. So you dodged that. I guess I shouldn't be surprised. Mito said, looking at the house longingly, like she was hoping it would put itself out and she could have a redo. I see, so Deidara's just a distraction. Han said. No, a distraction is something that's supposed to keep your attention away from something more important, but I'm sure the people of your village find it more concerning that a maniac is blowing the place sky high than your safety. Mito said. Do you really think you can take me? Han said, looking at the girl in front of him and wondering why she was even part of the Akatsuki. Probably because of her brother. Now he would be a worthy opponent, but as Han was thinking this, multiple explosions erupted at his feet. Han had not even been remotely prepared for an attack, so he clumsily rolled to the side as he felt his armor get dented. Wow, I really didn't expect that to work. Is that all it takes to catch a Jinchuriki off guard? Mito asked. Han got up to his feet. He wasn't really hurt, but his armor had been damaged, which really pissed Han off. Steam lifted up from a furnace on his back and seemed to cover him like a second set of armor. You really shouldn't have done that, little girl. Then Han was right in front of Mito. She tried to block with her swords, but Han punch was too powerful and knocked her through a wall of the burning house. Mito came out coughing and a little blood coming from her forehead. That wasn't very pleasant, Mito said, like she pitied him. Han once again shot up in front of her and tried to punch her, but this time Mito dodged to the side, letting her sword scrape Han's gauntlet. Han quickly changed his tactic and tried to sweep Mito's feet from under her. It worked, but once again she scraped her swords along Han's armor as she went down. You know, if you're trying to break my armor, it's going to take a lot more than that, Han said as he brought his foot down on Mito. She rolled out of the way before her skull could be crushed. I'm not trying to break your armor. I just wanted to sharpen my swords, Mito mocked. Han did not take well to that comment. The steam around Han expanded to make what looked like an arm with a claw hand. The claw hand wasted no time striking at Mito. It was too fast and Han was too close for Mito to be able to dodge, so she blocked with her swords, but the claw hand was just a line of steam and passed right through them. Mito felt her skin burn as the steam enveloped her. She dropped one of her swords on the ground as it was getting too hot to hold. Mito ran out of the steam with her one sword, her skin having a slightly red tint. The steam worked its way back to Han and returned to being his second layer of armor. You really made a mistake coming here, little girl. You should have known that someone as young as you had no chance of beating me. Oh, I knew that, Mito said as she pointed her sword at Han and shot a lightning bolt at him. Han dogged it, making it completely miss him, except it didn't. Han felt his whole body freeze up as the lightning coursed through his system. Han fell to the ground, was unable to move. I knew that there was no way I could beat you if it came to strength, Mito said, walking over to her other sword and picking it up. I'm weak when compared to you, but unlike you, the weak have to struggle every day to stay alive, while the strong get to course through life with their own power, but that also means the strong don't use the tricks the weak depended on to survive. Han couldn't talk because his entire body had been paralyzed, but if he could, he would surely be asking Mito how she had done it. His armor was made so it wouldn't be affected by lightning, and even if he didn't have it, his enhanced body should not have been paralyzed by a single lightning bolt. Mito seemed to pick up Han's frustration. I bet you're wondering why you're on the ground and I'm still standing. Well, let me explain. I did a lot of studying, and a lot of research to figure out how to beat you without Deidara's help. But nothing showed me a way I could defeat you, so I came up with my own play. Mito explained as she walked around the yard. The first thing that I realized was that if you went into your cloaked mode I'd have no chance of winning, so I had to come up with a plan to defeat you without you realizing you were being defeated. Mito dropped down to her knees and dug into the ground, pulling out a paper bomb. I beat you. Thought that I had predicted where you were going to land, but the truth was I put these things everywhere so no matter where you ended up you'd be on top of them, but these aren't just regular paper bombs. Mito blew on the bomb she was holding and something that looked like dust scattered through the air. Copper partials, very conductive and all over your armor. All I had to do was create a suitable charge, so my lightning would follow you, by running my swords along your armor and boom you're like a living lightning rod. At that moment a clay bird landed by Mito. How does it feel it get outsmarted by this little girl? Mito said as she loaded Han onto the bird. Another Jinchuriki had been captured, and this one had lost in the most pathetic way so far. Only 3 remain. Naruto watched the 3 tails charge up a tailed beast bomb. It was far bigger than anything that it had created before, yet 2 of the 3 people in its sight didn't seem concerned. Hanabi, maybe you should watch from the sidelines, Naruto said. Hanabi put up no complaints as she ran to the other side of the lake. By the time she got there the 3 tails had finished its bomb and shot it towards Naruto and Minato. Minato looked like he was going to activate a seal to send it somewhere harmless, but Naruto had different plans. How boring, Naruto said as he let the bomb hit the back of his hand. The bomb seemed to stop for a moment before heading back towards the 3 tails. The beast took a direct hit by its own destructive attack. It was down for the count and this time it wouldn't be getting up anytime soon. Naruto couldn't believe it. They had a group of 3 major villages to fight that thing, and they still had to fight their hardest just to survive the fight, but Naruto had beaten it without even trying. How he must have laughed at their struggles. How he must have watched them fight their hardest against an opponent that he could beat with a flick of his hand. This was the reason why Naruto called himself the strongest. Now that's out of the way, let's get to the main event. Naruto stomped the water and a wave sprung up not too far from Minato. Minato tossed a kunai into the wave and teleported out the other side. However, he quickly had to teleport again to avoid one of Naruto's cyclones. Come on, how do you expect it to win if all you can do is dodge? Naruto yelled as he shot off towards Minato. Minato threw a kunai behind Naruto and teleported to it in an attempted to stab Naruto in the back. Naruto's reflection broke the kunai. You should know that won't work, Naruto said as he turned around and tried to punch Minato. Minato teleported away again before Naruto could get him. Minato threw about 100 kunais at Naruto, but not one of them touched his reflection. Instead they missed Naruto, completely scatting into the water around him and actually started floating. Giving yourself more places to teleport won't get you past my reflection, Naruto said, running towards Minato. Oh, won't it? Minato said. Minato teleported again, but this time he was directly in front of Naruto, crouched down with a kunai out to his side. Naruto was still running at this point and ran right into the kunai. His leg only received a minor cut, but his reflection had been bypassed. You basted, Naruto said, turning around, but as he did Minato teleported himself again and positioned his kunai where Naruto's body was twisting to make his turn. Naruto once again received a minor cut to his side. The onlookers watched in amazement. Minato had gotten past Naruto's reflection by making Naruto move into his attacks. Once again it had been proved that Naruto's reflection was not an ultimate defense. Naruto stood up straight to look at Minato, who had teleported a fair distance away from Naruto. So just because you can hit you think you've won? Do you really think I'll die from these minor cuts? If your goal is to try to get me to bleed out, then I've got news for you. No matter how many cuts you inflicted, I can just use vectors to keep my blood where it's supposed to be. You'll run out of chakra long before you do enough damage to threaten me. There's also the huge hole that if I don't move you can't hit me. Staying perfectly still, 4 water cyclones were created and shot at Minato. Minato teleported to avoid the attack. I know very well that if you don't move then I can hurt you, but you forget I'm not alone, Minato said with a smile. At that moment Naruto felt something behind him. Naruto didn't know how to describe it. It was like a tear in the world, but the simple fact that Naruto could feel his hair moving because of it meant that whatever it was could get past Naruto's reflection. Naruto shot away from the unknown attack, but doing so let Minato give him a few more cuts as he teleported in front of him. But Naruto really didn't care about Minato right now. Naruto was more concerned that there was someone with an attack that was unknown to him. Naruto looked at the crowd of onlookers to see who had used it, and he saw Kakashi with a Sharingan eye that looked like Itachi's had when he had used an attack that was unknown to Naruto. How many different attacks is that stupid eye capable of? Naruto said. He changed his course to Kakashi even if he had an attack that could break Naruto's reflection. He knew from his fight with Itachi that using those kinds of attacks were very taxing on the body. Kakashi probably didn't have the strength to use another one so soon, so all Naruto had to do was kill him and then he could stay still and keep blasting Minato with cyclones until Minato ran out of chakra. There was no way he could lose. That thought was absolute in Naruto's mind until his entire body froze. He became very stiff and a slight pain was starting to affect his entire body. Naruto stopped his assault and looked back at the only person who could have done this, Minato. It's true that getting you to bleed out would be a losing battle, but your healing methods might be too good. Minato said with a smile. Then Naruto saw it. There was a clear liquid on Minato's kunai, the one he had been cutting Naruto with. Normally a poison like this would be purged from your body because you'd bleed it out, but since you make sure to make your blood bypass your cuts, my poison is able to spread through your body. Don't worry, it's not going to kill you, I just want you to be out of it when you're taken back to the leaf. Damn it, Naruto said, his vision already starting to blur. He could feel himself losing touch with reality. He had pushed Minato's poison too far in his body. I won't let you take him. Hanabi screamed as she came running from the sidelines to help Naruto. Minato looked more than ready to fight her, but a voice stopped both of them. Hanabi, stop this nonsense, Naruto said. But you're going to. Going to, what? Naruto yelled. Going to lose. Have you already forgotten I'm the strongest? You think I need you to come and save me? Well, get this into your head, I'm the one who does the saving, I'm the one who wins. And it's about time I got serious. Naruto stood up, not looking the least bit affected by the poison. You right, Hokage, I can control my blood perfectly, but that also means I know where the blood is that you infected with your poison. Suddenly blood gushed from wounds that were no worse than cuts. The water beneath Naruto turned a sickening red as more blood dropped into the lake, but just as suddenly the blood stopped altogether. Minato looked at his son with wide eyes. Are you crazy? Do you know how much blood you must have lost right there? Oh, I know exactly how much blood I lost, but don't worry, it's not enough to kill me. Naruto said, looking somehow even paler than before. Besides, not only is the poison gone, the fight is fairer that I've given you this handicap. And for the record, I'm not crazy, I'm insane. With that said, Naruto raised his arm and the wind started spiraling towards it. Minato knew what this was from Itachi's report. Naruto was creating plasma. Let me show you what happens when I get serious. Naruto laughed. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.